Is there any relationship between reading in immersion and memory? Is it necessary that whatever has been read in attention will be remembered and can be recalled? Conversely, if something can't be remembered, wasn't there attention? Is there any relationship between reading in immersion and memory? You mean memorization? Is it necessary?
That it should get captured inside.
Is it necessary that whatever has been read in attention will be remembered and can be recalled? Conversely, if something can't be remembered, wasn't there attention? Let's go into the relationship between attention and time. For too long, too many people have said that attention is to live in the now. And the matter has not really been understood. Where there is a now, there would always be time. There would always be a past and a future. It is impossible to say that it is 7:30 p.m. right now without being in the zone of time. If it is 7:30 p.m., obviously it's going to be 7:50 p.m. in a while. Time is a spread. Just as space is a spread, time too is a spread. In attention, it is not that one lives in the now excluding the past and the present. It is now not as if the two sides of time are clipped away. They come together. The spread reduces. Please understand this clearly. Often, our version of being in attention is that I am living in the now and the past and the future have miraculously vaporized. Which is impossible, because there is no now without the past and the future. Attention is the crystallization of time, the coming together of the past, the now and the future into one. They are not different anymore. They are not spread out. So there is no place to go to, not because the future has gone away, but because the future has come close. See, when you say that I do not live in imaginations, when you say that the attentive man does not live in imaginations, that does not mean that his future has been clipped away. It means that his future is now seamlessly one with now. It is here. Future is now. Past is now. They've all come together. In the disturbed mind, they are very, very distant. And the more distant they are, the more there is scope for imagination. Are you getting it? The more distant they are, remember one thing, the further the action, the greater the imagination. What is right up close cannot be fodder for imagination. But the further the action, the greater the imagination. In attention, this distance reduces, the spread reduces. It all just comes together to a point.
In the language of calculus, they are tending towards from both sides.
Question on this. It is like stretched legs. ऐसे करके वो फैले हुए हैं, ठीक है? वो पास आते हैं, वो present future, वो past future, वो past में आते हैं. My question is कि is the movement of this leg directly proportional to this one?
Past and future, always.
So, if I'm just thinking of the future, it is sure that I have stretched the right leg also.
Yes.
I cannot have this leg in the present and have another leg in the future.
Right.
So as much futuristic I am being, equivalent of past also would be there in the mind.
There is no question of hoping for the future without deriving images from the past. And if there is one authority, it's kind of blasphemous to use the word authority for him, but if there is one authority on this, it is J. Krishnamurti. You want to really understand how past flows into the future, you must read him. He himself does not like the word authority, but he is the absolute authority on this.
When I'm sitting here, I can make many assumptions or imaginations or anything.
And all of them will come from the past.
About what I'm going to do on the football ground.
Yes.
When the ball will come,
Obviously.
the action will be that moment.
Actually, that which is not always the case. Wait, you may still be past bound. Just don't think that only by being physically present on the football ground, the mind has ceased its disturbed ways. No.
This is what I'm trying to say. जो आप कहते हैं कि the more is the distance in the future, the further is the action,
greater
the imagination.
Greater the imagination.
Absolutely true. It is the other way around. In the past, और शायद कहीं ना कहीं मेरे दिमाग में एक्चुअली इसलिए स्ट्राइक किया कि हम ज़्यादा दूर की हस्तियों को इसीलिए करते हैं. Because of the thing that now the mind has more capacity, the mind has more authority to,
and which also means
them as per me.
that our reverence is imagination. Which also means that our reverence is just imagination. So the further the action, the greater the imagination.
शायद आज से 500 साल बाद I can design Krishna in a more
Sophisticated way.
in a more sophisticated way.
Of course. Somebody was mentioning to me that these days again this serial Mahabharata is being telecast.
पूरी बन
And
रही
the
है.
very tone of the characters, the caste in which they have been shaped is very different from the Mahabharata that we saw 20 years back. They are more muscular, more jazzy. The entire show has a particular
Feel.
gloss
Yeah,
about it. Yeah.
It's the same thing. I remember Vivekanand की जो photograph है, with time the biceps are only getting.
गोल्ड जिम तो नहीं है. But कहीं ना कहीं the mind even here it's trying to play the trick. I don't want to remember who he was. It was very shocking for me. There was a book that I had, Monk as a Man, विवेकानंद की लाइफ पर, और उसमें कुछ ऐसे इंसिडेंट्स थे
Which showed his frailty. And one doesn't like to look at them, right?
वो ऐसा है, मतलब तब मुझे समझ में आया कि इस बुक की इसकी बिक्री इतनी क्यों नहीं हुई. मे बी शायद रामकृष्ण मिशन वाले को इतना वो नहीं होगा कि यार ये मत जाने दो, अगर उनका बस चलता दे माइट हैव रिवोक्ड दैट बुक फ्रॉम द मार्केट। क्योंकि वो ऐसे इंसिडेंट्स हैं कि वो चीख रहे हैं गंदे तरीके से, सामान फेंक दिया, बच्चों वाली हरकतें कर रहे हैं, एंड पीपल आर लाइक, और द पीपल हु वर अराउंड हिम दे वर रिस्पॉन्डिंग इन एन एग्जैक्टली सेम वे। अब हमारे लिए बड़ा मुश्किल आता है कि विवेकानंद माने,
क्योंकि हमारे लिए भी वो
The
इमेज
man
ही हो
composed
जाता है
है।
ना, फिर उससे ज्यादा हम कहाँ कुछ।
but as the distance goes, now I have the authority. Now Vivekananda is nowhere, when Ramakrishna is nowhere, or Ramakrishna Mission is nowhere. Now I am as per my sanduk, and now out of my sanduk I will pull out something and I will say okay, this is it.
ये वैसा ही है कि महाभारत की इमीडिएटली बात शायद कृष्ण को देवता के रूप में उतना देखा ना गया हो, लेकिन आज देवता के रूप में और मिरेकल करते हुए देखना ज्यादा आसान है।
So we come back to the question of memory. Now, when the mind is attentive, it does not really need a very conscious memory. It is not as if things are not being memorized. You have said that is there a relationship between reading and immersion and memory? Is it necessary that whatever has been read in attention will be remembered and can be recalled? You do not only recall what you remember. Please appreciate this. Recalling is independent of remembering. You can recall too many things which you will not even know to have entered your memory. Every single moment in the passage, in the flow of time, is going into memory. There is nothing that escapes memory. Please understand this. Nothing at all. It is just that an attentive mind does not need a very conscious memory. It's like this. Imagine a liquid in which granules of some solid are there is being poured from a height. And granules are of various sizes, small, big, very small, and all the granules are in the liquid. And this flow of liquid is passing from one level of filters, another level of filters, third level of filters, fourth level of filters, fifth level of filters. The mesh size of the first level of filter is large. Is large. So what will it capture? Just the large granules. Only that which is really not liquefied, which is not of a part of the flow, gets captured in the most surface level memory. Otherwise it flows down. That which is coarse, that which is undissolved, will remain in the most surface, superficial level of memory. The rest of the stuff will flow down and then caught at the next level and next level and next level. Next level. And what will not get caught at all will ultimately enter the deepest part of being, where it anyway belongs. Where it anyway belongs. Now, the mind is conscious only about the first 2 or 3 filters. So when it comes to active recalling, it can only recall that much. But because everything is going into memory, recalling is happening every time. All of that is anyway becoming the part of mind. The deeper it has gone, the more it has been understood. The deeper it has gone, the more it has been understood. Now it may not be able to consciously recall it. If you ask yourself, do I know? You may get an answer that no, I don't really know. But it will become part of the flow of life. It will come to you when you need it in unexpected ways. Somebody may ask you, have you read that book? You may not even remember the title. But the book is now a part of you. The book is there in your responses. The book is there in your love. The book is there in your flight. And somebody puts a paragraph from that book in front of you and you'll say, I've never read it. How does it matter if you cannot recall? The recalling is happening in your life. It may not be happening in your words, but it is happening in your life. And what is better? That the granules remain at the highest level of filter where they can be picked easily, or that they get dissolved in the flow of time and they enter the deepest part of mind where they cannot be recalled but they are life now. What is better?
Obviously they're becoming deeper and
Right.
deeper part of the
So don't worry if you are unable to put forward a quote or something. It has become a part of you.
But must not be confused with forgetfulness and
Yes,
bad
that's
reading time.
yes. That's you have to be honest about that. You have to be honest about that. See, remember, mind remembers only two things: the pleasant and the unpleasant. When will you remember something? Ask yourself, what do you remember in life? We are talking of memory. What do you remember in life? You remember either what was very pleasant, or you remember what was
Not
very unpleasant. Mind remembers only these things to which it is attracted. When we talked about dhyan today, will mind remember that?
Mind can't even
Cognize that. So how can it remember it? So please don't be concerned about it. In fact, if you remember too much, it means that it's not yet part of your understanding. It's still being processed via the mind. Some kind of thought is going into it.
still mental.
Now, obviously, as Abhishek intervened, that does not mean that you must forget everything. And if you remember everything, it's a crime. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it becomes a part of you and it pops up when needed. It pops up without your invitation, without your summoning. It sometimes happens. You don't even know from where this line came and it just comes. It just comes. It just comes. And this happens greatly with meditative people. They don't even know from where something has come up and it just comes.
And they seem to be remembering everything to the person who is operating.
Yes. And the other fellow will think, well, he is a very well-read man. See, he remembers so much. Fool, he doesn't remember anything. It just pops up.
It's just like being thrown in the water and you start swimming.
Ask the egg. Does it remember how to hatch? Does it remember how to do all? It knows. It somehow knows. All this is meditative knowledge. It will not be a part of memory. It will not be a part of memory.
When I say to write a poem, I am unable to write it.
Yes. That's why these things come. That's why no saint ever likes to claim ownership of his work, because it's really not his work. Do you see this now? See, if he tries to write, he cannot write. So he has to, and it's not a question of humility that he was so humble that he said, it is not my work, it is God's work. It is the actuality. It is actually not his work. If you ask him to do it, you make him sit in this room and say, you write down. He cannot write. It just happens. And when it would happen, he cannot say. In what language would it happen? That too he cannot say. Then how can he claim ownership? So in a very real sense, he says that this is not my work, this is the work of God.
They're just being honest.
They are just being honest. It's actually the work of something else.
So, but doesn't words work in remembrance? If you do not have words, just forget for self. If you have to remember some things for yourself as a tool, in that thing doesn't work. The words work.
No, but as long as you are still needing those words, it only means that the granules are large. Because words anyway don't mean much. A mantra may be given to you as a tool of remembrance. But if you need the words very frequently, you are still not home. They may be something nice to begin with. If the mind is very chaotic, it's good to use a mantra. But if you are in the need of mantra always, the mantra has to become a part of your being. You need to forget the mantra. And by forgetting, it does not mean that you have to, you understand forgetting, right? There should be no need to remember. By forgetting, what is meant is that there should be no need to remember. It is there, so I can forget it.
So
It's so safe that I can forget
there
it.
is no forgetting, there is no remembering.
What can you afford to forget? That which is absolutely safe. So I can forget it. I can forget it.
लॉकर में ज्वेलरी रखने के बाद लेडीज कहती है ना आप चिंता से मुक्त हो.
Now there is no need to remember. That is forgetting. Forget it. No need to remember. Enjoy it, forget it. But this can be dangerous. The mind can use it. No? I didn't even read properly, and so nothing has come to me. It has become a part of me now.
सारी बुक चला दी.
It has become a part of me now. So, little carefulness is needed.